All right. How you feeling?
Sunday it is.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good to see you again.
We are going to get started today. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Elgin Community College. My name is Antonio Ramirez. I'm the director of our Center for Civic Engagement here at Elgin Community College. The mission of the Center for Civic Engagement is to foster the skills and experiences of that Elgin Community College students need to be thoughtful and engaged civic leaders on campus, in their communities, and in our democracy. Just want to mention that RCCE has been recognized by the Civic Learning and Democracy Engagement Coalition, which is a national group founded by higher education and policy organizations to advance and support civics in post-secondary education. Our group is one of only 37 institutions in the United States with outstanding civic engagement opportunities for students, and this list includes Harvard and Stanford universities. Just a little pat on the back for us here. Thank you so much. So we're a nonpartisan organization, as is ECC. So the views expressed here are not the views of our center, of the college, or of any employee at the college. And I should add that the views of our supporting organizations here, We Can Lead Change and the Justice Coalition, are of their organizations and not necessarily the Center for Civic Engagement or ECC. But I want to welcome all of you. We got a great turnout today, and our candidates for our second Illinois 8th District Democratic Candidate Forum. The candidates are each going to be asked a series of questions on topics that are relevant to voters in our district. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to questions in most cases. In some cases, the candidates will be asked to raise their hands to respond to a question, or in other cases, candidates are going to be asked for a one-word answer. So we're trying to switch up the format a little bit to keep it lively, but most importantly, to give the voters in the district a full picture of each candidate. So if you could try to abide by those rules as best as you can, that would be great. We also ask that you abide by our timekeepers. Timekeepers, could you raise your hand for us, please? Hands. Thank you. Our timekeepers are going to be indicating to you with a friendly bell and these signs. There you go. They might even bring out the cowbell, right? If things get crazy. But they're going to indicate to you when you have 30 seconds left and then when your time is up. I will say that because of this kind of varied format of questions, if candidates feel that they need to further explain a particular position, especially when you're answering a one-word answer question or a yes or no question, please feel free to do so in another section of the forum. We also are going to provide plenty of time for candidates to interact with all of the folks here after. We have the space until 6 p.m., so you know, the candidates can stay as long as they wish. I also want to mention that this is not easy. Candidate forums can be stressful. Running for office is stressful, and but it's important work, of course. And I want to thank each of you for your desire to serve our district. So let's please give a round of applause to the candidates. Thank you so much. And I should add that there are actually 3 additional candidates that were not able to make it today. Melissa Bean is one candidate. Kevin Morrison is another candidate. Melissa Bean joined the race relatively recently, which is why she is not included in the pamphlets that we handed out to you. And Kevin Morrison was unable to attend the forums. Additionally, another candidate, Sunjant Danung, she attended our first student forum, but is out of state and was unable to return for this forum. So I did want to turn it over to a couple of our supporting organizations who helped organize this forum. I think we're going to invite up We Can Lead Change first. So Mickey Powell, thank you.
So a little bit about We Can Lead Change. We Can Lead Change started off as a passionate group of mostly women. We were inspired by the January 17th, 2017 Women's March. Many of us took to the streets, and both locally and in Washington, D.C. We're all volunteers, and we're all committed to building community, protecting democracy, and amplifying marginalized voices. We hold our elected officials accountable. It's important. And we harness our power and our group of people, our movement of people, to drive meaningful change in government. We organize local rallies. Some of you may know the No Kings rally that happened in April. We had over 10,000 people there. We will be having the next one October 18th. That'll be coming up. We'd like everybody to attend. Part of the reasons we do these is that we also want to let you know that some of the local indivisible groups also collaborate with us. And part of that is we're building a movement. And we need everybody involved in this movement based on what we know is going on the national level. And the only way to do this is to get you to sign up and be a part of the We Can Lead Change newsletter alerts and information that we have going all out. So it's a wecanleadchange.org. There's a table outside. Pick up information out there at our table. We need everyone of every age in this fight together. So thanks.
Thank you, Mickey. And next, I wanted to invite up our representative from the Justice Coalition, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Malley. I'm one of the board members with the Justice Coalition. The Justice Coalition is a C4 that was founded in 2023 by 7 Palestinian Americans to confront U.S. complicity in the genocide in Gaza. We are a nonpartisan, community-led movement uniting people across racial and religious identity for Palestinian liberation. Our mission is to challenge the Israeli lobby, decades-long grip on U.S. politics, and build lasting power for justice and dignity for Palestinians and for all oppressed people, here and abroad. People, you can follow us on social media. And, I will tell you, this is always very difficult for us. It's a very difficult time, and so I apologize for being a little bit emotional here, but this is an organization that we truly, truly have enjoyed being part of and trying to drive the change. So thank you very much. We have a table out, and we'd be glad to talk to you afterwards, too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as you've noticed, the supporting organizations do have their literature outside. The candidates have information here about their campaigns, and there are some snacks and some water, so please feel free to help yourself. So we'll turn over to the forum, a segment of our program today. We are going to be asking questions in alphabetical order, in reverse alphabetical order, and randomized questions as well. So randomized candidates, right? So we're trying to be as fair as possible with so many candidates. So for the first question, I want to turn it over to Faith Powell, who is a representative from the Justice Coalition. Thank you, Faith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Candidates, thank you. I am a political consultant with the Justice Coalition. I'll be helping throughout the forum today with some of our kind of quick hit questions. And so we're going to kick things off with a quick round of what I like to call Illinois progressives. What would you protect and what would you reject? So this is a fast visual way for the audience to get a quick sense of your values, your priorities. No long speeches, but just honesty and clarity. Good news, though, you'll have opportunities to expand on your positions throughout the forum today. Antonio described that. So we'll start with the what would you protect section, and then we'll go to what would you reject a little bit later on. So directions are when you agree with a statement, simply raise your hand. And for example, if I said, would you protect our public parks and forests by opposing corporate pollution? You'd raise your hand if that was a yes for you. Okay, great. Okay, so there's 8 statements we're going to react to, and it's going to go pretty quickly. So are we ready?
Let's go.
All right, we're ready. So please raise your hand if you would protect reproductive rights, including access to abortion and contraception. Thank you. Raise your hand if you would protect and strengthen Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Thank you. Raise your hand if you would protect immigrant rights, including sanctuary cities and pathways to citizenship. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you would protect schools with stronger gun safety laws. Thank you. Would you protect queer and trans youth by ensuring access to gender-affirming care? Thank you. Would you protect Palestinian lives by ending unconstitutional U.S. military aid that violates human rights? Thank you. Would you protect healthcare as a human right through universal coverage or Medicare for all? Thank you. Would you protect our collective future with action to address climate change? Thank you. So candidates, thank you. I'll be back up later for the what will you reject portion. So can we just give them a round of applause for the first portion? That was good. For now, I'm actually going to switch us over to a question that just asks for a one-word answer from each of you. So we're going to start with Dan Tully. I don't know if it was explained, but there were names drawn out of hats for this, like ordering. So let everyone know it's been randomized and all the things. So Dan Tully, we're going to start with you, and then we're going to go alphabetically and then back around, okay? So the question is, with one answer, or one word answer, if Democrats take back the House and Senate, what is the first thing you will work to change?
In a one-word answer?
One or two?
The rule of law, accountability. We could go one word, really? Okay. The rule of law, but defend the rule of law.
A new generation of leadership.
Oh, I'll protect the law of the land.
Am I, okay. Aspects of the Constitution so that this never happens again.
Strip corporate interests.
Protect democracy, bring back common sense.
So much. And I'm going to invite Mickey Powell to come on up.
So candidates, you have 2 minutes for this question. I will say that Sanjat Danung's name was called on this, or pulled drawn on this one. So since she's not here, I'm going to start with Neil Colt, because you would have been next in line there. And then we will go alphabetical again. So this question is, Democratic Party leadership, according to Reuters' June 2025 poll, 62% of Democrats believe party leadership should be replaced. How are you going to address divisions within our own party, and what can Democrats do to win back voters? Neil.
I would start with the Democratic Party has aging leadership. We fully agree. And they need to start giving away to young leadership, which is what is happening as we see. As Dick Durbin retires, as other leaders, Jan Schakowsky's, who are in their late 80s are retiring, I think Democratic Party is giving way to the new leadership. But what is more important is we want to see non-career politicians to take those jobs, not career politicians who wants to be there year after year, term after term, and not make any difference to the people that they really represent. Me, myself, I'm not a career politician, and I believe bringing out-of-the-box thinking, bringing common sense approach is what is needed in today's day and age. Working across the cities, across the countries, making and working with global platform is what we need. We just don't need politics and policies and more of that and ignoring who it really means for. We do want a government that is for the people, by the people, and of the people, not for the billionaires, of the billionaires, and of the multinationals. We do not want that. And that's the mindset we need to change. And I think I would be the right person to bring that, bring out of the box thinking. And I've done that in my district. And I believe that I've created more jobs here, and I've created given preference to women and people impacted by war on drugs. and I can do it again, working with local municipalities, working with outside the country, and bring more jobs back into my district, because even within the district, we have our own problems like losing Sears, Motorola, and Ameritech. We have lost those jobs, and they need to be brought back to common sense, and they need to be brought back for high paying and jobs with pride and respect.
Thank you. Dan?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dan Tully. I just want to cover two quick things. One, Kevin Morrison, who was supposed to be here, I think it should be said in fairness that he had a death in the family this week, so otherwise he would have been here. Number two, I just want to provide two quick parts of my background. One, I'm a former U.S. Department of Commerce attorney who worked alongside USAID in the foreign assistance space. I'm also a judge advocate, a major, and Iraq veteran from the U.S. Army Reserve JAG Corps. Speaking in my personal capacity, I think this question is really important, but first I want to double back to one of the questions that was asked in the lightning round with respect to Palestine and Israel. I want to make sure to clarify where I stand on this issue. I think this is one of the most important issues that we're facing from a geopolitical frame, and this is not something that I think is boiled down into simplistic terms. So to be clear where I stand, I think that it's absolutely abhorrent that children and women and civilians are suffering and dying. I've advised commanders overseas. I've advised 2-star commanders. I've given advice to 4-star commanders about whether people live or die. And I know that international law has protections in place for all countries using force. I want to make sure that it's clear where I stand. I don't think there's any excuse for using force against civilians. And what we need to do is make sure to feed people. We have right now in our capability in the United States military, and I know from firsthand experience helping in Syria, getting humanitarian aid to internally displaced persons camps in Syria. The NGOs get access to those places to make sure that they can actually deliver that life-saving aid. That's very important. We could do that right now. And actually, I'm in favor of using the military to do that right now to make sure that we end the suffering of civilians right now. What I'm not comfortable with is totally saying, is the way that the question was formulated, Israel is an important part of our national security defense. I want to separate the nation of Israel from the government of Israel, specifically with Netanyahu. The country of Israel is really important in our national security framework from our intelligence sharing, and I've known from operations overseas, things I've done, they're important. So all that to say, I'm happy to discuss that more as we go on. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Ryan Vedekad. I'm 24 years old and running for Congress. And so I just want to briefly, I think the question was regards into where's the Democratic Party going? And so,
The Democratic Party, and how would you bring Democrats back to the voters?
yeah. And so that's kind of the big reason why I decided to run for Congress. I was working at the Department of Justice the past couple of years. In my office, we prosecuted school shootings. That was my job, to stop these things from happening, international terrorist attacks, and also January 6th. And so that was the work that I was doing for the past couple of years in Washington. And when I saw that the congressman was running for Senate, and he's an amazing guy, and I saw the folks that are running for office and amazing people on this panel with me, but I just really wanted to stress that idea of it's time for a new generation of folks. It was mentioned by some of the other candidates that we need to kind of usher in this new generation of leadership. So, well, I'm here. I decided to quit my job and stop the work that I was doing. I really loved my job and what I was doing, but I thought this is more important to fight for my community, the place where I grew up, the place where I went to school, and the friends and relatives and neighbors that told me that, hey, somebody needs to stand up. And so that's the big thing that I think is really important in regards to where the Democratic Party is going. I think we need to talk to people like they're people, not just like political rhetoric and just lines that you don't really even understand. I think that really changes the way that we connect with voters, connect with people, and that's what I'm trying to change. And so really looking forward to just continue the conversation here.
Thank you. Junaid?
Okay. I think that's a great question. I would say, coming back to the basic of the question as to what are we going to do as Democrats here? I think first we need to address the question, why is Donald Trump even in the office to begin with after everything that he has done and said before coming into office? The root cause of the problem needs to be analyzed and addressed as the party leadership comes together to kind of see what's the path forward. In order for us to do that, we need to become the party of the people that we used to be at one point. We need to be the party that is going to be standing for what is right, for the labor laws, not just by words, but actually making life affordable for people. That is what we begin our conversations with. Secondly, when we have corporate interests to the extent that we have never seen before in the history of this nation, that is the outcome that we are seeing today. People like Donald Trump who are trying to make a sales pitch to the American population that, look, these politicians are not going to stand for you. I am going to come stand for you. And instead, what you get is a path to autocracy. We, as a nation, are on our way to become, from being the oldest democracy on the planet, to become the latest autocracy on the planet. That's something the Democratic Party can save it. I genuinely believe that the leadership will eventually look at it, understand it, analyze it, and listen to the voices that are coming, the new voices that are coming. I am very proud to announce that this kind of conversation I've already started with my endorsement that I have from Congressman Ro Khanna, who is the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. I have started that conversation, and I will continue to build on it as a freshman and many more years to come. Thank you very much.
Yasmin.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yasmin Bankole. It's so good to be with you all this afternoon. I'm a trustee in the Village of Hanover Park, and I also just spent the past 8 years working for Congress, both in the U.S. House of Representatives and in the Senate. And so to go back to the question as it relates to the Democratic Party, I think that I am so grateful to our leaders who have led our country in many different facets. And so I'm always going to be grateful for the institutional knowledge that they have brought to Congress. But I also very much recognize that it is time for a new generation of leaders to take up the mantle and to meet this moment. And so when I think about why we lost in 2024, I think about the fact that many people did not vote based off of facts. They voted based off of vibes and they voted based off of feelings. And so when I think about the issues that evoke a lot of feelings, for example, I think about immigration. We're seeing some of our neighbors currently be kidnapped, but from a political standpoint, Republicans use that issue to hammer that the Democrats don't care about law and order. They don't care about open borders. And you know what? We have not had comprehensive immigration reform since 1990. And so we must think smarter. The Democrats must have a clear, coordinated vision. We can't always be on defense. We must be on offense. I also think that the Democratic Party needs to elect leaders that actually get things done. And so I mentioned I'm a trustee in the Village of Hanover Park. I've been elected since 2021, and in my community, I've been able to get things done. I helped lower water bills for my residents. I have worked on public safety initiatives. I passed a welcoming ordinance to combat anti-immigrant sentiment, and I've worked with our park districts to make our open spaces and our parks more beautiful. And so we need our electeds to do what they're going to say, get things done, and have the energy and the fire to meet this moment.
Thank you. Chris?
Good afternoon, friends and neighbors. My name is Chris Callis, and I am running to fix the heart of the Democratic Party. But to do that, we all have to share in the same reality, and I'm not here to sugarcoat it. The Democratic Party has abandoned working families in this district. They've abandoned working families across this country, and you can tell because back in 2008, Democrats lost West Virginia by 14 points, and in the most recent election, they lost by over 40 points. I grew up in a little blue dot that was in a red sea, and I watched as that little rural blue dot became redder and redder and redder as Democrats stopped going out there to campaign. But there is good news. The person you send to Congress from this district will be able to oppose the overreach of this administration and build a Democratic Party where our families get the dignity that we deserve. That's a future where money is stripped out of politics forever and for good. A future where our jobs and our healthcare have nothing to do with one another, and where your healthcare stays between you and your doctor. A future where we take care of the sick and the needful in our own neighborhoods, and where we can't be persecuted for our sex, skin color, or the gender we present as. A future where we actually get to retire. A future where our neighbors don't live in fear of being kidnapped by masked federal agents. A future where our taxes pay to build hospitals in America instead of paying for bombs to blow them up in Gaza. To have a shot at this future, we need to elect candidates willing to take over the caucus and force the reforms that we all want and deserve. And if you want the same future I want, I'm going to ask you honestly, who do you picture leading us to that future? A multimillionaire business owner who dumps hundreds of thousands of dollars into their own campaign? A tech bro who's propped up by representatives from Silicon Valley? Or a career politician whose friends are all career politicians? No, it has to be someone like you with the lived experience of this district. Again, my name is Chris Callis, and I raise $43 per donor because I'm supported by the working families of my district, my friends and neighbors who are teachers, electricians, marketers, gardeners, painters, and retail workers. The next closest in my race makes $900 per donor, with the highest being over $2,200 per donor. Who must their friends be? I look forward to earning your support today and changing the world with you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel? Come on up. You're ECC student? Yep. So this question is coming from an ECC student.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm a student civic leader with the Center for Civic Engagement. Before we begin, I was instructed to remind the candidates to make sure that you're speaking into the microphone loudly and close to the mic for everyone to hear. For this question, there's going to be 2 minutes per candidate, and we're going to be starting with Mr. Callis. The question is this. Given ICE's abduction of a student from this campus's parking lot just weeks ago, the recent reports of conditions in ICE detention centers, and major concerns over due process in immigration enforcement, how would you ensure that our federal immigration system respects both national security and human rights?
So that is a two-part question. It's one, what are we going to do about it right away to stop the overreach that is happening right now? And then how do we make a system that this can never happen again? Number one is that when we take control of Congress, we have the Oversight Committee, and we need to use it to its fullest extent. And that means bringing the commanders of these ICE facilities before Congress and having them answer for why they had these illegal ICE facilities running in the way that they were running, why they were committing the human rights abuses that they were committing. I was at Broadview on Friday at 9 a.m. for a press conference, and they had us in a free speech zone, which is an oxymoron. And across the complex, there was a PR stunt done by the leader of that facility, and he tear gassed peaceful protesters to march across the street for a photo op. And he arrested 5 people and charged them with bogus charges to drag them off the street. When I got over to that side, and I was there for a few hours, there were police and there were ICE agents that were antagonizing protesters, trying to get them to commit some act of violence so that they could drag them into the facility. There were more armed guards in camo on the streets of Broadview than I saw during the invasion of Iraq on TV. Our country is under siege right now, and when Democrats get control of Congress, we need to drag as many of these people in front of these committees as possible to get them to answer for what they've done. And after a 2-year investigation, because for 2 years, the DOJ is definitely not going to prosecute any of these people. But after this administration is out of office, there is going to be a reckoning, and we're going to have large-scale trials to find out who is tear-gassing civilians and who is breaking the code of enforcement that they should be following and who told them to do so. So that's the first part. And number two, I won't spend too much time on, is we have to build a kinder immigration system that strips the cruelty out of it, so that it can't be used by authoritarians to hurt our immigrant friends and neighbors who are the victims right now. And the last thing I'll say is that in places where ICE raids have happened, go out into those communities and spend money and show them that we are still here fighting for them, which is why I go to Palatine every Friday, because there was an ICE raid there as well. We need to be able to stop this at its root.
All right, I think the question starts at how did we get this far and why? This happened back when the previous election, when we put in office a dictator, king-like behavior person who doesn't have respect for law. We already have processes in place. We already have a legislation in place that this thing, a team of SWAT people come and abduct anybody. There are processes in place, but today he doesn't respect any of that. That's the problem. And he does what he wants to do, and he has no respect for immigrants, the American citizens, or any of the law that is already in place. So what I believe is this is too late, but yes, I have stood up to ICE. I've gone and did my protest, but it's not enough. We cannot take guns in our hand. I come from a land of Mahatma Gandhi where we've stood up to the Britishers with peace and protested that. But today that is not the case here. It's gone too far. So this time of problems will not be there forever. Please remember, we have a chance to make a difference in midterm polls. This is the chance to stand up and talk. We do not want this government again. We do not want this. It will end. It will not be forever. Please keep that in mind. The Trump administration is not here forever. They just came back a year almost, but in the midterm polls, you have the power to stand up and say, no, these are the new leaders that you want to elect, the people that respect the law. So I would say, time to speak at the booth, go out, vote, and pick up the right leaders, because it is upon us and you together to stand up that this thing will never happen again. We will not let this happen again. And that's what I ask for all of you. Unite together, go at the booths, connect to our campaigns. All of us are great candidates, but connect to the campaign to make a difference. Stand together so that this will never happen, not what we can do now. Now it's too late, but we can fix the next time when we have the chance.
We've been seeing how ICE is out of control, not only in our community, arresting someone out of the parking lot here, but also citizens out of their own homes in Elgin, but also all across the country. I was also in Broadview on Friday to announce my own plan that we have to be able to announce this, and as Democrats get behind it right now in order to chill ICE action, and no, truly no pun intended there. I went there because I want the Congress to be able to use its constitutional ability to impeach all civil officers of the United States. So basically, the Constitution says, and historical practice is murky on this. So there's an opportunity for Democrats, if we retake the House and if we retake the Senate. And really, if we retake the House, we can impeach, and if the Senate, we can convict. But if we retake the House, we can impeach all ICE officers as they fall under the civil officer category of the executive branch. So that means if somebody violates the law, if somebody acts outside of the constitutional boundaries, we can make sure to hold them to account eventually. I think that should be able to put a pause on people feeling so emboldened with their masks up and Kristi Noem on the roof telling them where to go. The other piece, though, is how can we actually create an immigration system that's fair in this country? I'm in favor of general amnesty. That means that anybody who has come to this country and has gotten here already, they can apply, and so long as they've not broken the law, so long separate outside of their legal status, so long as there's no criminal background activity, they can have a pathway to actually obtaining citizenship. So much for the dreamers that should be citizens now. We can't really go back to sort out if somebody crossed over 18 years ago, if they actually should be remaining here. We just say, if you're here and you haven't committed any crimes, you get to stay here, and then push forward on providing clear and fair ways to come here legally in the future. Thanks.
I think the first thing that we have to really try to understand here is how we got here. And the right people in mostly the Republican Party, they take one story of one immigrant and one illegal immigrant, and they twist it into an action they've done and try to cast it in all types of people. What they don't talk about is the honest workers and the students and the people that are just trying to make a life here. They don't talk about my family. My mom came here from India, and she worked the night shift at the post office while raising 3 boys, right? They don't talk about families like that. They don't talk about the people that are just trying to make real, honest lives here. And so what we need to do now is kind of works in 2 functions. One is we resist. So we resist peacefully and honestly against these against ICE. So, for instance, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he released a mandate that ICE agents have to identify themselves with a mask, that they can't have masks. Also that they have to use search warrants whenever they try to conduct their illegal raids. And so I support that we bring these same policies here to Illinois. And so the second thing is provide clear and legal paths towards citizenship for all these people. Everyone that's just here, that's been here for so many years and just building an honest life, that we have clear and honest ways that they can stay here, because that's all they're trying to do.
You know, what we're seeing today is unprecedented. I mean, what's on everybody's mind, what we've seen yesterday, today. ICE agents, National Guards, snipers in the city of Chicago, raids right here in Elgin, children in zip ties, families in handcuffs. That is unprecedented. That's the doing of a president who is trying to take away from democracy. The way to fight back is obviously when we get to 2026, we're going to win the House back. But today, 5 years ago, what did we do? What are we going to do today on the streets? I was at the McHenry ICE Detention Center 5 years ago, not as a candidate, as a citizen. And we were relentless, relentless back in the day, 5 years ago. Parents were being separated from children. And we were relentless on the street out there, 20 miles away from here, just about. And until this ICE detention center shut down, we did not give up. That fight has to continue today. That fight has now, unfortunately, gone to the next level. We got to keep it up. We got to keep fighting. And that's what I'll do. Take my organizing skills to Congress and the halls of the Congress and make sure that all of these mad policies that this president is bringing, we will roll them back. Secondly, I am a very proud American and a very proud immigrant. My dad came here as an immigrant looking for a better life for our family. I'm going to be fighting that American dream that my dad saw for all of us. I'm a manifest of that, married with 4 kids, amazing, beautiful life. That's what America is all about. That's what we will all come together. That's what Democrats will come together. That's what Democrats will do after winning 2026 and bring back common sense policies to this country and protect our democracy. Thank you.
To the students of ECC, I am so sorry that one of your own had to experience that. This system, I believe, has failed you, and I commit to being a part of the solution. This issue, the issue of immigration, is very personal to me. I am the daughter of immigrants, and I've watched many of my family members go through this immigration process. It is long, it is costly. We deserve a more modern and efficient immigration system, one that treats people with dignity and respect. So I just want to start with that. I also just want to say that I disagree with a couple of the things that have already been mentioned, a couple of my opponents. I don't think it's too late. I don't think that we have to wait until 2026 for some action to occur. The only checks and balances that's working right now is the judicial system. Our legislative branch is out, our executive branch is in whack. We must support appropriations for our judicial system to make sure that that continues. We must support the attorney generals who are fighting the good fight in states all across the country to issue all of these temporary restraining orders. But also, I believe that in my personal capacity, the work starts for me now. I mentioned before that I'm a trustee in the Village of Hanover Park. Just a couple days ago, I directed our village staff to ensure that our metro lots, our fire department, and our police lots were not being used for ICE gatherings, and that is something that I can control right now. Also, I made a motion to make sure that our state and federal legislators know that we want a ban on these federal masks that are terrorizing our residents and invoking all sorts of fear in our communities. But more comprehensive immigration reform, that means a pathway to citizenship. That means finally passing the DREAM Act that's been introduced time and time again for the past 20 years. That means protecting birthright citizenship. There's so many other things that I can't get to right now, but those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm back. Sorry. So we're gonna do the reject portion now. What would you reject of the hand raise game? So there are 6 statements here that you will respond to. And please raise your hand if you would reject the following. Reject attacks on voting rights and fair election, like efforts to limit same-day voter registration. Thank you. Would you reject corporate PAC money and dark money in politics? Thank you. Would you reject political attacks on LGBTQ plus youth? Thank you. Would you reject campaign contributions and endorsements from foreign interest lobby groups like AIPAC and DMFI? Thank you. Would you reject contributions from big pharma and health insurance PACs which prioritize profit over care? Thank you. Final one. Would you reject Donald Trump and Trumpism and the hate and division it breeds in favor of democracy and justice?
Can I raise two hands?
Both hands.
Amazing. Thank you all. Round of applause, because this is hard. So I'll now transition us to another one word or one phrase. We'll open it up. One phrase, right? One phrase. One word. Okay. We will start with Junaid on this one, and we'll go alphabetically. The question is, what is one word that describes your leadership style?
Collaborative.
Committed.
Servant leadership.
Practical, out-of-the-box thinking.
Informed.
Compassionate.
Thank you all so much. I'd like to invite Sherry up for our next question.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. My question is, our U.S. tax dollars play a major role in Israel's 77-year military occupation and settlement expansion in Palestine, which has escalated into genocide in Gaza and ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, all while Illinois families struggle economically at home. As a member of Congress, will you commit to ending unconditional aid to Israel, support international legal proceedings for war crimes, and enforcing human rights laws so Palestinian lives are no longer treated as disposable? We're going to start with Ryan.
So I would, yeah. When I was at the Justice Department, my office, we were the ones that were prosecuting the October 7th attacks. We had a joint terrorism task force that was focused on that. And I saw these videos, I was working on these cases. And the big thing that I want you guys to understand from this is I've seen that side. I've seen the horrible things that these terrorists in Israel have done. But I also want you to understand that if Israel can send a bomb in an Iranian to kill a single Iranian general, they could do the same thing in Palestine. And so what they're doing right now is unethical, it's not wrong, it's not right, and I would support Delia Ramirez and the entire Illinois congressional delegation right now is focused on a Block the Bombs Act. And this is supported by If Not Now, which is a Jewish advocacy organization, and I would also support this act when I'm in Congress as well. And so what this does is exactly what you say. It's not supporting unconditional aid towards Israel. It's blocking their bombs that are used to kill innocent civilians, and that's what I would do in Congress.
Make no mistake, it is our tax dollars that is being used to commit a genocide. Let's just make a note of that. As much as we may not like it, our tax dollars are being sent to starve innocent children just because they have a target on their backs. Our tax dollars are being sent to bomb innocent civilians, wherein an entire population is being displaced from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood to the next neighborhood, no house, nothing to live, no way to survive, and dying of hunger. It's very unfortunate it is our tax dollars. As a congressman, I will support Delia Ramirez's Block the Bombs bill. I will do everything to make sure that that part of the world, every human being, is treated with equal dignity, and more importantly, with equal international law. We as Americans stand for equality. We as Americans stand for democracy. We as Americans say that no human being should be treated different because of who they are. And that's exactly the policies I will fight for, not just in the Middle East, but across the globe. I think that is not too much to ask for. I think we have lost our way. We have been trained in the last few decades to look the other way. I think it is time for us to come together and say no more, and no more with my tax dollars. And we hold our electeds accountable who are trying to look the other way. We are going to stay focused. We are going to do what is right for humanity. We are going to do what is right for America. And make no mistake, what is right for America is right, what is right for humanity. Thank you.
So yes, what we have witnessed is a genocide. And yes, what we witnessed on October 7th was horrific. I can't even imagine having one of my family members taken and almost 2 years later, they're not returned. And I'm even thinking about the 48 hostages that still have not been returned. And so we can acknowledge that, we can acknowledge the reverberating impact of this war and the anti-Muslim hate that has come out of it, the Islamophobia, the anti-Semitism. We have all felt the reverberating impact of this war. But I think also what has happened after October 7th has also been horrific to watch. There are children that are not just starving, they are being starved. And to witness this happen with our taxpayer dollars is unconscionable. It is immoral. I'm so happy to hear that some of my opponents now are supporting the Block the Bombs Act. This is something that I was the first to support. It's been listed on my website for quite some time. And what it does is it takes a stop, it puts a stop towards the offensive military transfer to the state of Israel. But I also think what we also need, what is really important is that I think that we need a more balanced approach when it comes to foreign dollars, right? Like we need the same, the investment that we are seeing in military aid that is being invested in these wars across the country. We need to see that same investment domestically. Why is it that we have all this money for bombs, but we don't have money to pay our teachers? What is going on? What's going on with our priorities? Why can't we have a more balanced approach to put money into our healthcare system, our education system? There are so many aspects to the way we approach foreign funding that I just don't agree with. So there are many ways that we can just address the issue. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Chris?
We should not support an apartheid theocracy as it commits an ongoing genocide. We need to end unconditional aid. We need to stop the bombs. But we also need to sanction Netanyahu's regime and any genociders in his cabinet. We need to support war crimes charges. And if they will not stop, then we need to consider the dissolution of the military alliance with Israel. If it does not serve us anymore, there is no reason for it to continue. And every dollar that we build, that we send over to Israel, that is then used to kill Gazan children, is another mark on our conscience that we cannot accept. As Americans, we do not have universal health care. As Americans, we lack so many of the basic rights and dignities that are afforded to the people of Israel because we give them our tax dollars so freely. Over 1/3 of the military budget of Israel is from US tax dollars. So yes, we should stop the bombs, but how little of their budget is that? In reality, we should be using every lever at our disposal to stop this genocide as quickly as possible and get aid to the Gazans that need it, and get aid to the West Bank, and stop the colonization, and stop the Netanyahu regime. That is the only path forward for a moral United States, and it is the only path forward for this party. Thank you.
October 7th marks the 2-year anniversary of when on a peaceful afternoon, gliders and people walked into Israel territory and a lot of chaos happened, hostages were taken. What I want to recognize and remember that today, President Trump has given them a 20-point agenda to bring peace into the territory. I believe Israel has the right to defend itself. I also believe that what is happening in Palestine and the children that are suffering is not acceptable. That should stop. And I believe President Trump has given them a 20-point agenda to come to table and call it a peace. Let's move forward and let's rebuild Gaza. That's already given now. Now it is up to both sides to take it and coexist with a two-state solution. That would be my way of looking at it. Number two, in my district, I have more problems. My seniors and my seniors who have earned benefits, Social Security and Medicare, are on the chopping block. When the big beautiful bill was passed, which is the big lousy bill, they took away the rights of Social Security and Medicare and have cut down more and more. Prescription prices are going to go up. Your insurance premiums are going to go up. That is war in my district, in my home, in my country. That's more important to me right now. I can't have my seniors and my women being belittled and not have the rights, not have the respect that they deserve to their own choices, to their own reproductive choices, be in leadership roles. I want to stand up for that. I was raised by a single mother, and women's protection will always be the top priority on my mind. I would want to ensure that the prescription and insurance cost doesn't go, that people are brought to poverty. I do not want that. Whether it is red or blue, we should stand together, because when those insurance premiums goes up, it cuts both sides. It's not just one side gets affected, and I want to bring both of them together to ensure that common sense is there and our seniors and women are respected and they have a dignified right of living. Thank you.
I approach this from the perspective of having been have been killed by Iranian forces on multiple occasions. I was deployed for a year in Iraq. I was the national security law attorney for a task force fighting ISIS. But the number one force that was trying to kill us was a shadow group of Iranian proxies. And I know firsthand how just absolutely devastating it would be for Iran to have a nuclear weapon and for Iran to be able to unleash its fury across the Middle East. Israel is our number one ally in the Middle East when it comes to containing that Iranian threat. The fact that we're able to sit here today is in large part due to a lot of the intelligence sharing that we do on a daily, hourly basis. Multiple things can be true at the same time. That partnership is important, but also what's going on in Gaza cannot stand. The civilians that are being killed, the journalists that are being killed, the loose use of force, that's simply not something that we can continue to permit to happen. So I would encourage us all to make sure that we're using all channels available to make sure that that violence stops and that the hostages are returned and that no more civilians die, whether from bombs or from hunger. As righteous as it feels to call for no more bombs today, if we stop the bombs today, it wouldn't change a thing. There are enough bombs that have been transferred through foreign military financing, through which I've been a part of for other countries, that this wouldn't stop. What actually makes it stop is if the US government decides to do what's necessary, send military there to allow channels for NGOs to actually deliver the aid. I want to briefly touch on the AIPAC thing. I don't expect any support from AIPAC. We don't align on all things, just like I don't align with all things from the Justice Coalition. What I do, though, expect from myself as a candidate and from myself as an elected leader is to make sure that my door is open, that I don't alienate and subjugate and demonize anybody just because we disagree. I think the path to a democracy is recognizing that we can have disagreements and that we need to bring all stakeholders to the table in order to find a resolution to this issue.
Thank you. I'm going to call up Becky now.
All right. Hi, I'm Becky McCabe. I'm from We Can Lead Change. Thank you all for being here. This is pretty important because sorry, I'm a old principal. I'm used to lunchroom voice. So this has been very important. We thank you all for being here. We thank you all for being here. So the question I have is for 2 minutes, but it's only for 3 candidates. And the rest of you will get your chance later. So this is for candidate Callis, candidate Bancole, and candidate Ahmed. All right. What U.S. policy by the Trump administration has done the most damage and why? It's going to start backwards. So we're going to start with Chris.
The number one policy that is doing the most damage to the United States from the Trump administration right now is their use of the Alien Enemies Act and the Insurrection Act to declare war on the American people of the United States by invading our cities with troops, camouflage troops, by putting sniper nests onto buildings and pointing them at peaceful protesters, and by empowering ICE to essentially be a private army for the president, a Gestapo force across the United States, who is able to kidnap whoever that he wants and take them to any facility that the federal government controls across the United States, including Broadview, which is not supposed to be a holding facility. It is supposed to be a place where people spend less than 12 hours as they are processed and moved out, and there are people that are spending weeks in squalor, sleeping on cement floors. There are people dying in these facilities across the United States. Alligator Alcatraz is maybe the one that we know the most about because it is the one they've put the most publicity behind, but these sites are across everywhere, in almost every major city across the United States. And his use of these two acts, which should be repealed, which they have literally racist language in them about how the people of other places can't possibly have the same values that we have here. And yet these laws from the 1800s and the 1700s are still somehow the law of the land today. So those are the two things that we need to work on to be able to stop this president from his authoritarian overreach the most, and stop all future presidents who want to use these acts from their authoritarian overreach.
I'm going to approach this question from I'm sorry. So I'm going to approach this question from a more holistic standpoint. I think that the utter lack of regard for the rule of law has been the single most damning thing of this administration. This administration has just thrown laws and reason and facts out the window. They have clawed back federal funding from, we're sitting in a community college. They've clawed back funding from institutions of learning, from universities, clawed back funding from our hospitals, clawed back funding from different organizations that are doing community violence work. There's the inappropriate usage of the tariffs, right? So this president has created a trade war with our allies. It's created inflation with so many things that small businesses and multinational corporations need in order to survive. And he has just placed crazy tariff amounts on everyday goods. Just last week, starting October 1st, is when we saw a 100% increase on pharmaceuticals. We saw an increase on everyday items like kitchen cabinets. We saw an increase on upholstered furniture, everyday items. I think that throwing facts and rule of law just out the window has just been so damning. But also just the revoking of federal funding. We just even saw over the weekend, this administration revoked $2.1 billion in infrastructure dollars. It's hitting Illinois. It's hitting clean energy projects. It's hitting our roads, our bridges. Every day this administration wakes up and says, how can I hurt the American public instead of how can I help the American public? And so that is what I just think has just been so damning.
When you have Donald Trump in office, it's hard to pick one, really. It's hard to pick. I think that's the most difficult question you're giving me here. But I think to me the top one is just destroying our democracy. To me, equally very close to that is affordability. Tariffs, and we as citizens paying the taxes. He's using the word tariff. It's not being paid by foreign companies. It's coming back to us. I went to get my glasses 3 days ago. It was $100 more than what we got last time. And he said, it's just because of the tariffs, right? It's hitting it to everyone. One thing is what we talk about, my colleagues here talked about, is the destruction that he's doing. But at the same time, the kind of level of damage, the hurt that is being done to common Americans from an affordability perspective I am a product of a community college, just like Elgin Community College here. I went to City College of Chicago. For me, I was able to get through the first 2 years. Now he's trying to dismantle the Department of Education. Think about that, dismantling the Department of Education. What produces the workforce, what produces America is the public education system in this country. He's trying to fundamentally destroy it. Where else can we start, from ICE to kids being in handcuffs to our education being taken away, to our seniors, to our citizens, people, the Medicare benefits being taken away? I'm sorry, I can't take one. I cannot pick one. There is a lot that this president is doing, and you need a strong fighter who will go to Congress and take him on. And all you got to do is look at the last 4 years, who that fighter would be. When I said I took on ICE as a citizen. We shut down the ICE detention center in McHenry County as a citizen, protesting, being relentless. That's what we need in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Promise no more hand raise games. The question I have for you, one word answer or phrase. What public figure or politician do you admire, and or who are you most excited to work with when you get to Congress? Oh, sorry, thank you. We're starting with Yasmin, and then we're gonna go in alpha order.
Thank you for the question. I admire our sitting U.S. Senator, our senior U.S. Senator, Senator Dick Durbin, who has served Illinois as a steadfast and an effective leader for many, many years. I am so proud that Senator Durbin has decided to endorse my candidacy. I've learned so much from him, from being a common sense leader to the art of compromise to working with people from all different walks of life. I'm sad that I would not be able to serve with him because he is retiring, but that is the kind of leadership that I hope to embody as a member of Congress.
Thank you. Christ.
John Brown, because he knew that if you see injustice, that you have to throw your body onto the gears of that injustice until the gears give way or your body gives way. And that is the only option that we have left in the place that we're at in the United States of America right now.
Thank you.
I admire the leadership of past President Barack Obama, who brought people together, who brought them Affordable Care Act to our seniors and the people that could not afford it. Equally, I would work with our current congressman who will become the next senator, Raja Krishnamurthy. I would work with him. I worked with him from 2010 when he ran the election twice and still could not win, but he had the zeal and the courage to continue the journey. As Senator Dick Durbin retires, we get a fresh leadership, Raja, to represent us in the Senate, and I would work with him hand in hand to ensure that our district gets the most funding, our district is looked at, and we also want to ensure that he looks after the state of Illinois to be the top priority. That would be my leadership style.
Of the current members of Congress, I think I would admire the approach that Sean Casten takes to his job. Sean doesn't always see eye to eye with all constituents, and yet he doesn't hide from them like his predecessor, Peter Roscom, did. Sean Casten goes and holds frequent town hall meetings, and in fact, he doesn't only hold them here, he holds them downstate as well in red districts. He goes out to places with misinformation and disinformation and tries to bring more people onto the side. He doesn't leave the stage until police decide it's time to escort him out for his safety. So all that to say, I would hope to follow that model.
I really admire Andy Beshear. Andy Beshear is the Democratic governor of the state of Kentucky. And if you know anything about Kentucky, it's a very, very red state. And so the reason why I mention him is because he's someone who knows how to talk across the aisle. It's someone that knows how to reach voters in swing places and win. Because when one of my biggest goals in Congress is not just here in Illinois, it's nationwide. It's to flip red districts. It's to help James Tallarico beat Ted Cruz in Texas. It's to help John Ossoff win his Senate race in Georgia. And so just admiring someone who knows how to talk across the aisle, knows how to talk to people instead of at people. That's someone who I would really love to work with.
In the last few years, I have been mentored by two congresspeople, and I think it's unjust for me to just take one's name. Congressman Ro Khanna, the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, has been a mentor, has been advising quite a bit, and he has endorsed me. And Congresswoman Dalia Ramirez, who is taking very bold stances. She is not afraid to speak the truth, and she has been an amazing mentor. So those are the people who I admire a lot.
I'd like to invite up Mike for our next question. Mike Rundy. Oh, or not Mike.
Hello, this is another three-candidate question. It'll be Vedekad, Tully, and then Kant. You'll have 2 minutes to reply. The question is, Donald Trump's foreign policy often alienated allies, praised authoritarian leaders, and withdrew the U.S. from international agreements. If elected, how would you repair the damage done to America's global reputation and restore trust with our allies? Brian, you're first up.
Awesome. So the way I would do it is really just trying to reach people where they are. I was a Fulbright scholar in Austria, and so what I was doing is I was working as an English teacher. I was working in this small little town. If you've seen the Sound of Music, that's where I was working. And so my students, they were asking questions, and they were intrigued by not just an American, a first-generation brown American that spoke German in the mountains of Austria. That's who their teacher was. And so the way I would repair our international partnerships across the world is just having these conversations, that showing them from the ground level that America is a melting pot. It's this country where you could be anyone, you could come from any culture or race or ethnicity or religion, and you're still American. And that's just the beauty of it. And so going across the world and just living there, working there, one of my biggest things that I really want to bring back to the States is the policies that I learned overseas, things like universal health care and universal child care, an amazing transportation system, an amazing education system. These are policies that I understand now from a grassroots level and in a place where it actually works, right? I'm the only candidate on this stage, aside from Dan, that has spent an immense amount of time overseas. And so I just really want to bring those policies back to the States, because you have to learn from places where things work in order to make them happen. So.
I've said from the very first day of this campaign that Trump's America First approach is really Trump first, and it will end up with America alone. I know this from my experience working overseas, and I'd highlight three experiences. One, as I already mentioned, I advised a Special Operations Joint Task Force in Iraq for operations in Iraq and Syria. As well, I worked for the U.S. Indo-PACOM, which is the Geographic Combat Command for the Indo-Pacific. And then most recently, I worked for the U.S. Department of Commerce, funded in part by USAID and other bureaus within the State Department, working specifically in emerging markets throughout the Asia Pacific. So working in Bangladesh, Indonesia, Timor-Leste, some of the Pacific Island countries. And all those experiences highlighted that there are so many common causes that we're facing, so many common challenges. And I think in this moment, as we see the president not only push allies away, but also try to embrace adversaries by parroting their talking points in the Oval Office against Zelensky, but then later finding out that adversaries truly are not working in our best interest. In this type of climate, we need to step back and engage with not only our allies, but our potential allies. So many places within the Asia Pacific, we don't have formal relationships with them just yet. However, there's potential. And you know what? When we pulled out with USAID, when USAID's warehouses of supplies, of medicine, of food, when that was incinerated at the order of Elon Musk, either China came in to say that we're a better partner, that China's a better partner, or they didn't, and people are starving. There is so much opportunity right now to re-engage with the world. So if I'm elected to Congress, I would want to make sure to go to these places, to be a symbol that the United States government is not giving up on them, and to recognize that the common threat that we all face is immense. Climate change is going to completely alter the way that we live across the world. So will artificial intelligence. The changes that are coming are going to transform our economies and the entire foundations of our society, and I'd like to highlight that. Thank you.
America, which is one of the most oldest democracy, was the beacon of hope to the world. Across countries, countries looked up to America to say, how do you lead us? And that's how democracy was brought in many parts of the world. I also come from a land of the largest democracy, India. Today, when I travel across countries, I've traveled more than 25 to 30 countries in the last 20 years. And what I see in the last few years, the respect for America has been going down. They are looking at us as the enemy because Trump's nature of bullying, intimidating, putting tariffs. Tariff was not meant for making and punishing countries. Tariff was meant to have a proper trade balance between countries. And that's not happening. He's using that tool to terrorize and humiliate it, and then get what he wants, whether it's a plane that he wants or whether it's a lot of other things. I think that's damaged our reputation around the world, and we need to bring that back. That's very important. Because around the world, when we make them enemies, they unite together, whether it's Russia, China, India, Pakistan, coming together, they look at us now as the enemy when before that, we were the friendliest country in the world. Wherever we went, our passport had the best respect. But today, that is not the case. When I get to Washington, D.C., I would want to make sure I work with the world leaders, along with our current senators, to make sure respect is brought back to America, American people, and the country which I call myself home. I've lived here more than 30 years. And this is the country that will provide, again, beacon of hope and the world to say, there is more that can happen. This is not going to be forever. Trump's, which has created a new terminology called Trumpflation, will not be forever. And America will be brought back to the beacon of hope that it was and it will be. And that's what I would like to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your answers. Faith, Rebecca?
Thanks, Mike. All right. For the next question, I just want to say thank you first to everyone who, when you registered, there were so many questions that came in. And so we're actually we sorted through them. We made sure we were covering all the topics from those audience questions. There were two that stuck out that hadn't been answered. And so I'll offer both of those to you all. You can choose which one you would like to answer. Let's see here. Okay. First option is, if you only served one term in Congress, what's the one piece of legislation you'd fight the hardest to pass? And question number two is, how would you address inflation and the rising cost of living for everyday people? We're going to start with Neil and go in alphabetical order.
All right. I think if you want to get to one term in Congress, it will be too difficult. It is too short of a time to make an impact because you would be one of 435. We have to recognize the reality. But the first thing would be to bring affordability back to common sense way of working. What I mean by that is today inflation is gone beyond control. We can see that interest rates at 7% and 8% and 6% is unsustainable. People do not have ability to afford homes at that interest rate. The jobs that are currently paying 60, 70, 80,000 cannot afford houses at that interest rate. So interest rate needs to be brought back to common sense, 3 and 2 and 4%, which is where we can have affordability. Price of prescription drugs, price of groceries are all because of the careless tariffs that have been imposed upon. We call them to the foreign countries, but I think it's imposed upon our own American people, and I don't believe that is right. The tariffs are creating Trumpflation, and we need to bring that back to common sense. And I would say that's the thing I would want to fight, make things affordable, whether it's daycare, groceries, prices of eggs, prescription drugs, insulin, all of these needs to be brought back. And that can happen by working with globally, bringing countries together so that we and our seniors have access to the right medicines at the right price. That's what I would say. That's what I would fight for even in my first term, even though it's very short, but I'll do that.
If I had only one term in Congress and it was this next term that's coming up, 27 to 29, I would want to make sure that I use the power of the Congress to make sure that there's accountability. I go door to door, knocking on doors, getting petition signatures, and people say, it seems as though this president thinks that he's above the law. There's no consequence. Homan just received $50,000, or the news broke that Homan received $50,000 in cash in a fast food bag, and DOJ says they're not going to investigate because there's no corruption there. I think, fast forward, there's nothing right now we can do, but fast forward to 2029 when Democrats hopefully retake executive power and retake the DOJ, we can actually prosecute. What we need to do in this next term of the Congress is to create a body that documents, memorializes, and to the extent possible, investigates every instance of corruption, regardless of party, regardless of branch. We say, how do you do that? Well, as I'm sure most of you know, under the enumerated powers of Article 1, the enumerated powers of Congress, there is such a power as to create a tribunal inferior to the Supreme Court. Now, tribunals can take all sorts of forms. There can be statutory court systems that require presidential involvement. Probably not going to happen here. But all the way towards the end of that spectrum is a commission. And a commission can be created without any presidential involvement, and in fact can be created with the exclusive action of one chamber of Congress, the House of Representatives. So if Democrats do take the House in 2027, we will have within our remit the power, the constitutionally enumerated power, to create a commission dedicated to documenting, investigating, and frankly preparing cases for the next DOJ under the Democrats. Now, we're not looking for political revenge. We're just looking to make sure that people know in this administration that if they violate the law, maybe the justice will be delayed, but the justice will come eventually. And that's what I would like to make sure that I do if I'm elected.
I would try to achieve during my first term in Congress revolves around democratic reform. And so this really goes into three parts. First is a cap on the amount of money we want to spend in congressional elections. Citizens United allowed that you could spend an unlimited amount of money and dollars in congressional elections. And so I would try to introduce legislation to cap that amount to $1 million per congressional race. And then it would depend a little bit, depending on Senate races and governor races across the country, because it's just nuanced in regards to reaching voters in each respective state. And then it's two second things. One is a ban on congressional stock trading. And so I'm the only candidate on this stage that has committed to a ban on congressional stock trading, because so often candidates will take into account their stock portfolios rather than the needs of everyday Americans. And the third thing is mandatory in-person town halls. I'm also the only person on this stage that is committed to having an in-person town hall every month on the dot, because so often when you elect someone to Congress, you never see them again. And so I really think it's important to have conversations, to have time in which you could have conversations and you could speak with, and even allow your constituents to yell at you, because I think that's really, really important. And so I might be misinformed right now for the other candidates on the stage, but I would really like to know if you guys would agree with me and take part in a pledge to ban congressional stock trading, and also to have mandatory in-person town halls in order to have this conversation. Same here. So would you guys join me in that? Raise your hand if you would.
It's already on my website.
It's also on my website.
Okay.
Same here, likewise.
Similarly, the ban on stock trading, I've been public on that for months.
Okay. Mandatory in-person town halls as well?
As someone who has planned town halls, who has participated in them, that is a resounding yes.
Those are both great questions, but I'm going to take the inflation one because I'm feeling the pinch. Every time we get the credit card bill at the end of the month, it's painful. Just going to the grocery store is not fun anymore. So I'll take that. I'd address that by raising the minimum wage to begin with. Making, reversing the damage with the tariffs, the taxes that you and I are paying. I would start with that. Then I would focus on building more housing so the rents can be manageable. People are paying 50, 60, 70% of their income on rents. The rest of the income has to be kind of used for childcare, healthcare, food on the table. I'd fight for that. Lastly, I'd fight for healthcare. Basically, what we are dealing with today is healthcare is being treated as a privilege. This is just killing us in terms of not being able to go to the doctors when we need to. With the cuts that Donald Trump has done, with the reverse in Medicare and SNAP, people are struggling. I'm going to reverse those on day one. I'm going to go and fight. Obviously, with one of 435, it's not going to happen overnight. But that's why I'm focusing on the inflation as opposed to one term. This is a long-term fight that this goes back to the question that was first asked about our democratic leadership coming together. How are we going to get our democratic leaders to say that we are the party who is going to fight for affordability? We are the party who is going to take on what is right for the people of this country. And when we say just Donald Trump is doing wrong, I think I will fight for the Democratic Party for standing up for what is right. I think that's the right thing to do. And when you say and when you show that we are going to do the right things, that is when you become the people of the voices and come back to be the leaders that we were once. Thank you.
So I would also focus on raising the federal minimum wage, which is at $7.25. I started working when I was 14 years old, and that's what I was paid, $7.25. I'm now 32. It is crazy that you can work an hour's worth of work, and it is the equivalent of a caramel latte. We need to raise the federal minimum wage to at least $17. I would also address healthcare. It's the number one reason why Americans go into bankruptcy. It's medical debt. And so we need a single-payer healthcare system. Healthcare should not be a luxury. Why is it a luxury in this country? I think many of us, if we needed assistance and needed to go to the emergency room, we would rather Uber to the hospital than take the ambulance because we know it's going to be thousands of dollars. So the framework's already there. Medicare for all, it's been championed by many members of Congress before me, and I would work to co-sponsor that legislation because a two-year term is a quite short amount of time. I would also focus on a progressive tax reform that would tax the well-off and well-connected accordingly. Right? We know that billionaires are not paying their fair share right now. If they did, then we would not have a sunset on Social Security. Things that you and I have spent decades paying into. We deserve to have Social Security that's there for us. Our generation deserves it. Our future generation deserves it. I will say one thing that I will just very briefly say is that housing, affordable housing, it's not something that you can tackle, and although it's important, not something that you could tackle, I believe, in 2 years, because making more affordable housing starts at the municipal level, and that's changing zoning codes to make areas more developer friendly. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and answer both questions. I'll cover it here. So my platform is the Working Families Bill of Rights, and I'm going to fight like hell to pass that in my first 2 years. That addresses universal health care, child care, a $25 minimum wage, affordable housing, dignity in work, and affordable education. And the reason is we are in a cost of living crisis. And I'm an analyst at heart, so I'm going to throw some numbers at you that make sense, I hope. The bottom 90% of Americans, we take home $35,000 a year. So for two earners, that is $70,000. Again, that is take-home pay. That is $5,800 a month. Here are the big four costs for a family of four. $2,000 covers housing, that is rent in this district. $1,800 covers childcare for 2 kids under 7. $1,600 covers the health care for the family, not including the employer contribution, which is another $1,000. $400 covers student loans. With those four, you get to $5,800 per month. Are there any bills that I didn't mention in that? You all can shout them out if I didn't mention them. Food, utilities, cell phone, a car, homeowner's insurance. What's that? High taxes in Illinois take part of it. Our bills are more than our income every month. In the next 2 years, we have to address that. Otherwise, the high unemployment will take care of it for us. The youth unemployment rate right now, if you're graduating from college, is approaching 10%, and it's much higher for men than it is for women right now. Having a huge unemployed young population is one of the most dangerous things that can happen in a country, because the people who are unemployed, who do not have those opportunities, they are going to look for opportunities any place that they can. And they will tear down the institutions that we have right now to be able to do it. To ensure that we are able to move forward safely and securely as Americans, we need to take care of people as they get out of college. We need to take care of families before they get into college. We need to make sure that everybody feels the safety that they should have in this country, economically speaking. All of this economic anxiety is political policy violence that is being inflicted on all of us. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I think we only have one final question for folks, and we're really early on time, so this means there's lots of time to mingle and ask all the questions you all have that are still remaining, I'm sure. So many after. We've covered so much. But a final question before I invite Antonio back up is, what sets you apart from the other candidates here today? And is there anything else you would want to share? Each candidate has 2 minutes, and we'll start with Junaid.
Thank you. In the last few months, I have been talking to a lot of people, and the consistent feedback that I receive is, at the doors, people are telling me they want a fighter in DC. They want a fighter in DC. Now, I take these conversations a little bit deeper as to, what do you mean when you say a fighter in DC, right? All of us, all 10 of us are going to say we are the fighters in DC. And then as they dig deeper, they ask me, tell me, what have you done? I said, okay, let's Google it, to search it up, what I've done in the last 5 years. I have taken up a stance when I believed that something was not right. I took on a stance against the establishment. I am the only one who can proudly say here that I will take on, if I believe something is not going right, Junaid Ahmad will take a stance and stand for the voice of the people. And I am telling you that with those policies, which are for the voices of the people, when you are in Congress, you need to have a history. And I have been on the streets for decades, not months. I have not got onto the streets because I'm a candidate. I am on the streets because I am an activist, I'm an organizer at heart, and my parents instilled in me to give back to the community. And I have been given back just about all my adult life, going back to starting from 50 warm meals to unhoused friends to 1 million plus this year that we have did it as a citizen. Established a successful tech firm, married with 4 amazing children. I am that guy who is going to take on that fight for you. And because of those reasons, because of the fight, because we have successfully shut down an ICE detention center, I'm the only one who can stand here and say, I did that. I'm not talking as a candidate, I did that as a citizen. And because of those reasons, I'm proud to be endorsed by Ro Khanna, the Congressional Progressive Caucus Chair, and I would love to continue the conversation. Please check me out, JunaidForUS.com. Thank you.
So I am running for this seat to be a part of a new generation of leaders that actually gets things done and prioritizes the middle class. And so when I think about the things that set me apart from my opponents, I think about just several things. I'm the only person here that has actually worked for Congress, and not just a couple of years. Oh. Could you hear me? Oh, okay. Thank you. Is this better? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. As I was saying, I am the only person here that has worked for Congress, both in the US House of Representatives and in the Senate. And it just wasn't for 1 or 2 years, it was for 8 years. I've worked on crafting legislation in a meaningful way, and I just don't think that we have time to wait. I'm the only person here that can hit the ground running on day one. The sky is falling. We need leaders that can hit the ground running on day one. I'm also thinking about the fact that I have run for local office and I am currently serving my community. I'm not going to wait until 2026 to serve. I'm serving my community now. You know, I mentioned before I first got elected in 2021 at the age of 27. I'm now 32, and I just know that I have the fire in my belly to accurately meet this moment. I will also want to say that I am so proud. I mentioned before that I had been endorsed by Senator Durbin and other leaders, but I think that endorsements are important because they show community buy-in. I have spent years being a community leader, a public servant. I truly am doing this for the right reasons, and I just believe that community buy-in is so, so important. I think people run for Congress for all different reasons, and I have stayed rooted in this community for quite a long time. I will just very briefly say that there's many people here that have spoken about being fighters, and there's no one here except for me that has worked in the during both Trump administrations and has worked on both of Donald Trump's impeachments. So I know I have the energy and the drive, but also the experience to serve effectively in this role and to make so many of you proud. Thank you so much for your grace. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, timekeeper.
Thanks, everybody. My name again is Chris Callis. I grew up in rural Illinois. My first job was in middle school. I was making $5.25 an hour detasseling corn. I was raised by a single mother after my father passed. I know what it means to struggle. I've seen my mom do it. I graduated from the University of Illinois in 2010 with a political science degree, so I have the knowledge to be able to pull the levers that are necessary to be able to get us the rights that have been missing for the past 20 years. I graduated into the worst economy in a generation. I dove right back into grad school like many did at that time, but after a year, I didn't have any more money to keep going to grad school, so I had to get out and get a job. I forayed that into a long career, a 12-year career in marketing, which was ended last year after I requested a accommodation for a back disability, and I was laid off less than 90 days later. And of course, we don't have any protections when that happens, especially when an administration shutters the EEOC, a place where we could have gotten justice. And from there, I was able to pick up the pieces of my life with the help of my wife, who is my only and #1 endorser. I am not endorsed by politicians who take piles of APAC money, like some of the other people on this stage. I do not have the money to self-fund $40,000 or $130,000 or $250,000 into my own campaign. My wife and I decided that this was worth doing because the people need a new, fresh voice to be able to get behind. And that's who I am, someone who knows what we have to do and is willing to do what needs to be done when I get to Congress. So I thank you very much for coming out. I look forward to talking to you all after this. And if you want to follow along with this race and follow along with my story a little bit more closely, please go to callisforcongress.com or follow me on any social media except Twitter at callisforcongress.com. Thank you.
My name is Neil Koth, simple as Neil. I was raised by a single mother and came to this country almost 30 years ago. I have created more jobs in our district than anybody else on this stage. I know how to create jobs. I've created small businesses, given priority to women and given priority to people impacted by war on drugs. And I know how to create high-paying jobs. Today in our district, when we've seen Motorola, Sears, and Ameritech gone under the current and previous leaderships, career politicians who have not paid attention, you want a new kind of leadership. Neil, N-E-I-L, New Illinois, new leadership is what I bring to the table. Out-of-the-box thinking, common sense approach. Not politics, not policing, but simple out-of-the-box thinking. I came with $300 in my pocket, and it was not easy to get to the stage where I am today. Every stage of the way I had to fight. But it's not just the fighting that's got me here. It's also collaboration, working with everybody, working with every city mayor, their economic development managers, and telling them that we need to bring businesses in this district. I have worked with many, many villages in my district from last 20 years. It's not the first time I'm working with them, whether it's Hanover Park, whether it's Elk Grove Village, whether it's Schaumburg, and whether it is Hoffman Estates. I worked on all of them. And I know how to bring those jobs because our district was a home to the first cell phone company in the world, Motorola. And we need to bring that back into our district. Last but not the least, I want to make sure that the American dream is affordable, is reality. It just doesn't remain a dream because my son is growing here. He is here today, 11-year-old. For him, I want to fight. And for my mother who is here, 75-year-old, for her, I want to fight so that my seniors, women, and children have the dignity and the privilege to be called the American dream is here. Thank you.
Nobody likes a lawyer until you need one. Donald Trump, everything that we're talking about Donald Trump doing, he's doing it through the vehicle of the law, whether operating outside of it, creating new meanings for it, drafting new legislation, whether it's the big, beautiful bill to take away healthcare benefits for the most vulnerable in our society, or cutting education, the Department of Education, or arresting somebody in that parking lot over there. Every single thing that he's doing that we've been talking about, it's legal based. And if you asked, how do I stand out in this race? I'm the only person in the 9 field that we have that has any experience practicing law. And in addition to that, I think we've got a really big challenge coming up here with the military. I don't know if y'all saw, but earlier this week, Pete Hegseth gathered all the generals from across the world for a speech in Quantico. Then the President of the United States came out after him. Pete Hegseth said he doesn't like the rules of engagement because he thinks that places a limitation on force. He called them stupid. Donald Trump then came out and said places like Chicago should be used as training grounds for the military. He has also said to use judge advocates like myself in the immigration court system, basically so that he can get more verdicts in line with what he wants to do with immigrants. All that to say, there are some really, really dangerous things. Also, I don't know if you saw, but we're right now, President Trump is laying the pretext for a war with Venezuela, whether using force in a legal way to do strikes on civilian fishing boats, and now trying to lay plans to take airfields. This is the most serious moment that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I've helped other countries improve their legal, regulatory, and policy systems for their own benefit. And now my own country is under attack from the president. And so now I'm trying to stand up. I would really appreciate a chance to earn your support. Please visit dantully.com to learn more about my policies. I have a large issues page, and also follow along on social media as we post daily updates about the issues of the day. But thank you very much for your time and attention.
For the past couple of weeks, I've been waking up at 6 a.m. to go to the train stations and collect signatures. And during my time there, I was greeted with other folks that pay folks to collect signatures on their behalf, and also just a lot of folks that are just tired of signing so many signatures on their way to work. You have no idea how much it pains me to bother people on their way to work or school and ask, hey, I'm Ryan Vedicat, I'm 24 and I'm running for Congress. Can you please sign this petition? Wait, you need to catch the train? Oh, I'm sorry. And I just have to deal with that. And so many times I just like ask myself, like, why am I doing this? This sucks. Like running for Congress sucks. Like I will not lie to you there. Some people might really enjoy it. This terrifies me, being up on this stage and talking to you guys. But so often, like my mom is collecting signatures on my behalf too, and she actually collects more signatures than me sometimes. I wonder if she should be the Congresswoman. But I have, for every person that yells at me, for every person that doesn't want to talk to me, there's one person that says like, hey, like, you're running for Congress. Like, we really need this new generation of folks. Wait, you're 24? Like, aren't you a little young to run for Congress? Like, what did you do before? And it's like, oh, well, I did this and I did this, but like, really, I want to represent you. That's what I'm trying to do. It's my hometown, the place where I went to school, the place where I taught 5th grade Sunday school for the past couple of years, and just that's the reason why I'm running for Congress. And so you're saying you want a fighter, right? Everyone here on this stage says that they are a fighter, but I've been in these rooms in Washington at the Justice Department when these conversations and the rule of law is really taking a toll. Like I've helped prosecute January 6th, and so that's my job. I'm the only person that kind of fought against this administration in a substantive, actual way. And I want to continue that in Congress. And so I'm not just running on the fact that I'm 24. I'm not running on the fact that I would be the youngest member ever elected from the state of Illinois, the youngest member in Congress. I'm running on the fact that we need younger voices, but not just younger voices, but better voices in Congress. And so I really look forward to talking to all of you. Please say hi to my folks. They're the ones that are really helping me on this campaign. It's ryanforillinois.com. And thank you so much for letting me be here.
So that is going to conclude our forum. Can you give these candidates one more round of applause? Fantastic. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your time. March 17th, 2026 is the primary election. Please add it to your calendars. Please follow the Center for Civic Engagement on social media. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. We will likely be having other events associated with this election coming up. And we have time now for you to interact with the candidates. I'm sure they'll be happy to talk to voters. So please grab a snack, grab some water, and take as much time as you need to interact with these candidates. Thanks again for coming today, everybody. Over.
Good, Dan. How are you, sir? You should start clapping. Don't just listening.
Yes.
Take a picture, yes.
Around like 2. Oh, good.
Come.
Sorry. Thank you.
How are you?